Hey folks, Lenny Lawson here, the Car Guru. You know, every one of these programs that I do, I have to record. And I record it on my Apple computer using a program called GarageBand. It's wonderful. If you ever need to record anything, as long as you have a decent microphone, you cannot use the microphone that is built into the computer. It just doesn't sound good. You need a high-quality microphone to plug into the back of the computer to make it sound this wonderful. And after I record the program, I send it to space. Well, not space, probably. The cloud. Well, it's not really a cloud either. It's called Dropbox. It is a program, it's an app, and they got computers somewhere. And when I upload my show to them, then I call the radio station, and they download it. It's such a big file. It's like 45 to 46 megabytes. And that is way too big to email to somebody. So it's got to go to Dropbox. They download it. Now, as far as the podcast is concerned, I do the same thing, except I shoot it to a company called Buzzsprout. They're a podcast host. I actually had somebody come in the other day that's a regular listener. He said, Lenny, you talk a lot about the podcast. What is a podcast? You know, and it's kind of like the service advisor that waits on the customer, and he's using terms that she doesn't understand or he doesn't understand, especially when they use a bunch of acronyms. And if you've listened to this radio program / podcast, then you know how I feel about acronyms. I don't like them. They are confusing when you start talking about BCMs and PCMs and all the different things that are on a car. I mean, you could even say body control module. Ma'am, your body control module is malfunctioning. We're going to have to replace it. Oh, really? What does it do? They don't know. They just don't know. So you have to put it in terms that people understand. And that's tough for people that sometimes when they get ingrained into a job, like a service advisor, talking to a whole bunch of people, and he's got pressure from his bosses to flow as much work as he can through the shop, and he tries to, I guess, abbreviate a lot of his speeches and says just enough that he thinks that somebody should understand it, but they just don't. So I think the most important thing from a consumer standpoint is you just take a time out. Say, listen, I don't understand what this thing is, what it does, why I'm having to replace it, why it cost $4,000. I need a little bit more information. And so they'll just have to slow down and show you and take you back there. You know, somebody said, especially with all the electronic stuff that's going on with cars right now, and there's a lot. I mean, we have a customer with a Chevy Equinox that they bought from us, and check engine light issue, and has multiple codes. And of course, we can identify codes, but we're just not set up to work on a late model Chevrolet Equinox, you know, that has those kind of issues, especially when it's under warranty. Now, we sold the vehicle to a customer off of our used car lot, and we take ownership of that. That's, you know, they just bought it. They haven't made their first payment yet, and check engine light's on. We really don't want them taking it to the Chevrolet store to get it fixed. We want them to bring it to us. Now, at one time, I had a service advisor, and his employment with me was short-lived because he would tell people that if they had a Chevrolet, they needed to take it to the Chevrolet store, even if they just bought it from us, which is a no-no. So, you know, some people have it when it comes to frontline people. Some people have it and some people just don't. They have a hard time relating to other human beings because they suck at putting themselves in their shoes. Sorry, I said suck. But there's just no empathy with some folks. I was reading in my Elon Musk book, really good autobiography, it's not an autobiography, it's a biography by Walter Isaacson. And, you know, a lot of people's opinions about Elon Musk have been formed in recent times because of all that he's doing in the federal government. But before that, it was pretty much all about his businesses, Tesla, SpaceX. He got his start with, his real first profitable thing was PayPal. You may not be aware of that, but he was involved with that and helped get it started. Then it was pretty much forced out. He did get a big paycheck from that, but then he just kept grabbing other types of businesses and other opportunities, and he's done some amazing things. He is not only bipolar, but he is also on the autism spectrum, which I'm not exactly sure how that manifests itself in his behavior. I know that he's an odd duck, and if you listen to a lot of the interviews and read that book, and he authorized the book, just like Stephen Jobs authorized his biography by the same man, Walter Isaacson, who was I think he was an editor or something for the New York Times. Don't hold that against him. But I gather a lot of insight from this book. I'll read you one here in just a second if I can find it. I'm looking on my notes. Whenever I see something interesting, I will highlight it in the book, and then I'll send it to my note app on my phone. But one of the things, here's a quote from the book. Musk says in response that people such as, and he names two people, are too reluctant to fire people. In that area of the factory, things had not been working well. Parts were piling up at the workstations, and the line wasn't moving. By trying to be nice to people, Musk says, you're actually not being nice to the dozens of other people who are doing their jobs well and will get hurt if I don't fix the problem spots. What do you owe to the other workers in your organization? If you've got underperformers that are hurting the profitability of the company, running off customers, it could be any type of thing. You've got some person that's a service advisor in a dealership or a salesperson or a sales manager that's just not getting it done, and he's bringing everybody else down in the process. It's hard to fire those people because they become ingrained, and you think you can't fire them, when in fact firing them is the best possible solution to the problem. You don't want to go willy-nilly and fire people. I understand everybody's in an uproar, not everybody, but a lot of people, of what's going on in Washington right now. But, that's kind of par for the course for Musk. And, if you read the book, you'll kind of understand where that mentality comes from. He is totally intolerant of people who are not working, or the work that they're doing is not productive. And he says it's a lot easier to fire a bunch of people and then hire back the ones that you need than it is just to keep rolling and keep trying to train and keep trying to change people who are not really changeable. So anyway, I think that's kind of interesting. I'll be back in just 1 minute. Okay, I am back. I went to lunch yesterday and went to the Mennonite store where they have hot foods. Great foods, all kinds of meat, more meat than you could possibly imagine. And you get this vegetable plate, and you walk through that place, it is so spotlessly clean. Everybody is so nice. If you look at somebody and you make eye contact, they're smiling at you and saying, hello, how are you? And it just makes you want to come back. I think those things are important. And that's something that I believe that you have to hire. I don't think you can train people to be that way. I think you either are a people person and are outgoing and open with others, or you're kind of an introvert. It's not that there's something wrong with the introvert, because they're wonderful people as well. They're not the kind of people that you want on your front lines taking care of your customers. They have other jobs that they can do. They may be working in the office or preparing food, or they might be a mechanic, or somebody that works in the parts department that doesn't ever work the parts counter. But you want people who are good listeners. That's tough too, especially today. People have not only forgotten how to listen, they've forgotten how to talk. Just go to a restaurant, look at how people behave. They're sitting there with their family, and all of them are on their cell phones. None of them are engaging with each other. And then they come in with kids, and the first thing they do is, so the kid will be quiet, they hand them a phone so they can watch cartoons. I never got to do that when I was a kid. Did you? I mean, I was expected to sit there, and if I had something to say, I could say it, but I wasn't to interrupt anybody, and it better be relevant. It's not that my parents were real disciplinarians. It's just that there were different standards back then. But we talked around the table. We didn't sit there and look at something. We didn't bring our 25-inch Magnavox TVs. They were too heavy. We didn't bring them to the table. We were not allowed to have the TV on in my house or in my parents' house when we were eating dinner. Nope, not going to happen. We are engaging with each other. We're talking about what we did that day at school, what happened at work, as long as the discussion was appropriate. Occasionally my dad would look over and said, Lenny, eat your green beans, or you can have them later for your bedtime snack. I didn't want green beans for my bedtime snack, so I ate them reluctantly. But yeah, engaging with people, that's an amazing skill set, and one that will make or break your business. Now, if you are a customer and you're coming in and you're just, you're not the outgoing, bubbly type, and you encounter one of those people who are that way, sometimes that can be a little off-putting. They're just too enthusiastic. And so, you got to have a balance there. You got to be able to relate to the person that has an issue. So every business has a process. So when you go into a service department, first thing they want to find out, well, who are they talking to? What's your VIN number? They want to get basic information off of the car. When you drive into my service department, we have these laser beams that hit your front wheels and measure whether your car is in alignment or not. And it posts it on a screen. And every time you come into the shop, the service advisor can tell you whether or not you need a front end alignment. And that's pretty cool. But some people react negatively to that. They said, I didn't authorize you to scan my wheels. But don't you want to know? And some people just don't. They think that we're just trying to sell them something, which we do want to sell them something if they need it. But so we get all the information from the customer, and then we want to identify, okay, what's the complaint? Now, they may not be there to complain about something. They may be there because of, it's just regular maintenance time. But yeah, what's the complaint? We identify what the cause is, and then we identify what the correction is. We fix it, and then we deliver it back to them in a reasonable amount of time. Sometimes that's an issue because there are delays. Most of the delays that we have are parts related, to where your vehicle needs that body control module, and we don't stock body control modules. We can get one overnight, but what does that do for you? Overnight, your car is disabled. You're going to walk home? Most people have an issue with that. So if they're under warranty, are they entitled to substitute transportation? Yes. If it's a certain type of repair. Sometimes if it's a parts delay, you can get substitute transportation, but that is not something that's written into the warranty that you're guaranteed to get. Now, most dealerships will have some loaner cars, and many customers will make previous arrangements. They either have a second car that they can drive, they have somebody pick them up, but if somebody is stranded, then I would think that most dealerships are going to address that issue and take care of them. We certainly do. I mean, we will often pull a vehicle off the line and put temporary tags in it so that the customer has something to drive. But the fact remains that people don't want to be in your car, somebody else's car. They want to be in their own car. And they want their car back as quickly as possible, and they want it fixed right the first time. They don't want to have to come back. And many times what makes them come back is that the service advisor was not a good listener, or the customer was not good or accurate in describing what their issue is with their particular car. Now, if it's a check engine light, or if it's a obvious problem like the brakes are squealing or it's got a leak, I mean, that's pretty obvious what's going on. But if it's an intermittent problem, those are the tough ones. So, if you have an intermittent problem with your vehicle, then you have to carefully describe when it happens, what it does when it's happening, and since we all have cell phones, it's not a bad idea to have a passenger record it misbehaving. Like maybe you're going down the road and every now and then your lights will just flash on and off. Maybe your dash lights. but every time you take it to the dealership, they can't get it to do it. But if you have video evidence, then they're going to take that a whole lot more seriously. They should take it seriously from the get-go, shouldn't they? But if they can't get it to do it, they can't fix it. If it won't act up, then it's not repairable. I mean, they can start replacing a bunch of parts, and then you're going down the road, and it happens again. So, that's not the way it's supposed to work. Now, one other thing that most people fail to clear up when they drop their car off for service, and it has to be done, is you have to find out, is this a covered repair? Especially if your manufacturer's basic warranty has expired. The 3 years, 36,000-mile bumper-to-bumper warranty from the factory is toast. But you have a check engine light. Come on. And it's under 50 or 60,000 miles. Is that covered? Well, most of the time it is, because all of the emission controls on the car, which would include the fuel system, it could include your fuel injection system. Most of those are covered for 5 years or 75,000 miles. It's a federally mandated warranty. But I'd like to have $1 for every person who has taken their vehicle to an independent shop to have something fixed that was still covered under the emission control warranty. They think that when the 3 or 36,000 miles is up, that they have no warranty, but you do. There's also additional coverage for rust. Now, it's not surface rust, it's rust perforation, and that's really only an issue if you live up north. But yeah, any place where they use a lot of salt, you could have rust perforation. Is that covered? Yes. Up to, I believe it's 5 or 6 years and 100,000 miles, whichever comes first. And if you bought an extended warranty, well, when does it take over? And what does it cover? What does it cover compared to the original factory bumper-to-bumper warranty? A lot of those warranties are sold as bumper-to-bumper, and they're really not. They don't cover the bumpers, and they don't cover a lot of other things that the factory warranty did cover. So having a clear understanding of what your protections are before you leave the dealership. I would just tell the service advisor, say, listen, before you do anything else on this car, I want you to call me and tell me whether it's going to be covered under the warranty or it's going to be something that I'm going to have to pay for, and I need to know how much it's going to be if that's the case. And they can tell you that information before you leave, but I think it's critical to find that out, don't you? And then finally, even though your vehicle is not under warranty, if you take it to most new car dealerships and they use OEM, that's original equipment manufactured, that's what OEM, that's another acronym. Sorry I used it. But yeah, if they're using factory parts, then they come with a warranty. Let's say that you have to replace a major component, like an air compressor or a water pump, and they don't use parts from O'Reilly's or Advance. They actually get it from the factory, which is better in many cases. How long is the warranty on it? Some of them will have a 1 year. Some of them will have 3 years. I know on replacement engines from Ford, the warranty is 3 years. And a lot of people don't realize that. And then they have issues down the road and they forget that it's covered. Just like on my copying machine, right here beside my desk. I've got I bought a little extended warranty because I was having a lot of problems with it. And it didn't cost that much. I bought it at Staples. And I've got that taped to the bottom of it. Anytime I buy an electronic component, I keep those little warranties and those little books because I want to know how long it's going to be covered. Plus, I keep the purchase receipt as well. I think that's important to do. Okay, I'll take my last break. I'll be back here in just a minute. I was digging through my files the other day for all different equipment that I've had over the years, and I guess I probably need to purify it. I found the folder for my first riding lawnmower that I bought. It was a John Deere 160, and I paid $925 for it. The last mower I bought was $14,000, but I still had the receipt. I had the warranty book. I had that information just in case I needed it. And when it comes to your car, a lot of that information needs to stay in your car, your warranty books, your extended warranty, any kind of other things that you bought in the finance office. If you're not going to keep the originals in your car, keep a copy in your car. I've sold so many cars over the years, and a lot to elderly folks, and it's just so funny. I'll be cleaning out their glove box because they ask me to, after they've traded cars, and there's their title to their car in their car. That is one document that you do not keep in your car, because all somebody has to do is steal your car, and they've got the title. And that just reminds me, I used to have a lot of objections. This is back in the 70s, early 80s. I would have objections from the older people because they didn't want power windows. They would not buy a car with power windows. And when I asked them why, they said, well, if we accidentally flip over and I'm in a creek or in a lake, I want to be able to roll down my windows and get out. It's a pretty logical thing. Of course, I giggle about it because, the odds of that happening seem so rare or scarce. But what do? You don't mock that. You don't make fun of people's fears. And that's one objection that I finally gave up trying to overcome that one. I heard it a lot. So we started ordering more and more cars with roll-down windows because we still had people in this area of East Tennessee that just insisted on it. They've had power windows since, some cars had power windows in the 30s, but not around here. So anyway, thanks for listening to this edition of My Car Guru. If you have any questions about this kind of stuff or a particular problem that you have, my cell phone number, the only one I have, is 423-552-2020. You can text me. It's the best thing to do. And if you want to send an email, LennyLawson2020@gmail.com. And I'll see you next time.